Hello folks, and welcome back to War Tree Ironworks. For you first-time viewers, my name is Johnny. Today's episode is one by request of several viewers of this channel, as well as some of our Forge family on Facebook. But before we get started, if this is your first time to our channel, please pause the video and give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe. If you could take 3 to 5 seconds to show that support, I would greatly appreciate it. Now on to the hero of our story. Just after the turn to the 19th century in Rutland, Vermont, on the 7th of February in 1804, John Deere was born to William and Sarah Yates Deere. He had 5 other siblings. His family moved to Middlebury, Vermont in the next year in 1805. In 1808, William set sail to England, but it is assumed that he died at sea on his way to claim an inheritance. John, at just 4 years old, was left without a father. After the death of his father, John was sent to attend public school to get at least a basic education, while his mother Sarah worked to provide for her family. At the age of 17, after a short attendance at Middlebury College, and in 1821, John began an apprenticeship under Captain Benjamin Lawrence, a successful blacksmith in Middlebury. After about a half a decade with the captain, in 1826, John went to work in Burlington for a brief period. And the next year, in 1827, John Deere married the mother of his eventual 9 children, a woman named Demarius Lamb. Soon after, John opened his own blacksmithing shops, first in Vergennes and then in Leicester. During the next 12 years, John worked various jobs in town and around the state of Vermont, until business eventually took a major hit from the collapse of the New England economy in 1836 and the Panic of 1837, an economic crisis that set off a major depression. The economy wouldn't start booming again until around 1850, but in 1836 the Deere family would follow other Vermonters out to the state of Illinois and establish a new shop in the town of Grand Detour. In their new hometown, John had very little way in the difficulty when it came to finding work, as there happened to be a big demand for blacksmiths in the area at the time. Once more, business was booming for John Deere, and it wasn't long before he solved a very common problem for farmers. As John was constantly and repeatedly making repairs for local farmers on their much-needed plows, he noticed that the sticky, clay-rich soil of these Illinois prairies would stick to the cast-iron plows used in those days. This was a very big hindrance for farming, as the plow would only be able to be pulled a few feet before having to be cleaned. This was an all-common routine for Deere's customers. Deere realized that the cast-iron plow's rough surface just didn't work with the clay soil. So John used old and broken sawmill blades, using them as stock for a new kind of plow with a smooth, polished surface that would allow the thick Illinois soil to fall off automatically without the need to stop to clean. At the farm of Louis Crandall, just outside Grand Detour, a crowd of hundreds of people came to see the 33-year-old blacksmith test out his new and improved plow. People were astonished, and according to Deere.com, it wasn't long before manufacturing plows became not only Deere's identity, but his business as well. Louis Crandall quickly purchased Deere's new plow, and many other farmers plowed over to put in their orders. The word rapidly plowed through the citizens of Illinois, and very soon John was building 75 to 100 of his plows per year. To keep up with his ever-increasing orders, John acquired a partner by the name of Leonard Andrews in 1843. But soon the partnership would become strained, as the two men had much different ideas on how to run the business, and Deere lost trust in Andrews' accounting practices. Over on the east bank of the Mississippi River, in 1848, after the partnership had been dissolved, John Deere had moved his successful and growing company to Moline, Illinois, a main transport hub. Being on the river made the perfect conditions for Deere and his business, as it provided water power to run a factory, and made it much easier and less expensive to move raw materials in and to move brand new John Deere self-cleaning plows out into the market. Business was booming, and by 1850 the company had built and sold over 1,600 plows, and they introduced many other farm tools to complement the already popular self-cleaning plow. And by 1855 John Deere had contracts with steel manufacturers in Pittsburgh to cut his overhead on the imported British steel previously being used. His Mississippi factory had already produced over 10,000 plows, and despite another economic panic in 1857 disrupting the United States, Deere's company remained successful. But despite John's success, he wasn't impervious to the woes of life, because in 1865 his wife Demarius Deere passed away. Together they had 9 children, one son and 8 daughters. The next year after his wife's passing, John Deere remarried to Demarius' sister, Lucenia Lamb. This was a common practice back in those days, especially with as many children as they brought up. When the economy finally began improving, in 1868, John transferred the daily operations of his company to his only son, Charles Henry Deere, who, in only 5 years prior, invented the Hawkeye riding cultivator. It was the first horse-drawn plow that could be ridden on by the operator. John began to move his focus from manufacturing his famous Deere products over to more political and civil aspirations. Serving as president of the National Bank of Moline and the director of the Free Public Library in the same town. And in 1873, John Deere was elected the second mayor of Moline, Illinois. He served his community for 2 years, but due to chest pains and a case of dysentery, he declined to run for a second term. 11 years later, on the 17th of May in 1886, John Deere passed away at the age of 82 in his Red Cliff, Rock Island home that overlooked the Mississippi River in Moline, Illinois. A wake was held in his memory in the parlor of the Deere home, where thousands of people came to mourn the loss and to pay their respects to one of America's greatest technological pioneers. 2 years following John's death, his widow passed away in the home they shared on Rock Island. John Deere will always be remembered by myself and others as one of the world's greatest inspirations. In a day where disease was rampant and most everybody struggled to live day to day, through it all, John Deere went from blacksmith to arguably the greatest manufacturer of farming equipment in the United States. He listened and saw people's needs. He revolutionized an entire industry to help make things go a little faster and get a little easier. And that, folks, was the American legend, John Deere. Please let me know what you think of that episode in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you really like this episode of Blacksmiths of History, then hit that notification bell. You all have a good one, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.
Oh, God.
Today we have Jim from the Crazy Viking Forge. How are you doing today?